Hey guys, it's your girl Shamar. Welcome back to the cabin. Pull up a seat, guys. I hope everybody has had a great week. I'm trying to get out of this circle. Okay, there we go. Had a great week and as uneventful as possible, right? Sometimes we can't avoid some of the stuff that's thrown at us, but I hope that Mother made your landing a little softer. All right, guys. Last week we talked about make no covenants with them. We also talked about the daughters of Moab and Israel's men and how they engaged in what seemed to be a big old orgy, guys, at Baal Peor, guys. That's all I can say. That wiped out 24,000 men. Okay, guys, a plague, right? I showed you guys that when we researched the serpent, that it was leading us to the word venereal disease and herpes, right? And so remember, a boil broke out on Egypt in their plague, right? A boil, a skin inflammation. What is herpes? A skin inflammation. Didn't the Creator said, I would bring on to you the plague of Egypt? He, man, listen, this is a continual book, all right, guys? It doesn't end with one chapter and there's no continuance. No, the Creator said, I'm going to hit y'all with what I hit Egypt with. And we can recall that a boil broke out in Egypt. I done told y'all that this disease is older than all of us probably listening put together. All right? Um, these plagues are of the Creator. All right? It was told to us in the Torah. Do y'all believe the Torah or not? I do. And I'm going to show y'all something, right? I keep telling you guys that my suspicion of this book of Esther and Ruth, right? Because we're going to come to a close of this soon. I just got a point to prove, guys. So after this, we're going to get into Baal Peor, and then we're going to get into the book of Ruth. All right, guys? I got to show y'all how this all ties together. How they're spoon feeding us the people that they want us to venerate. 2, stories. Venerate specific statutes that the Creator told us we couldn't do, which was to marry people from other nations. Right, guys? The Creator said that. It's a statute. Okay? And these 2 stories start out doing exactly what the Creator said not to do. If you ask me, guys, these books were added. They were added. And I'm going to show y'all why. I'm still on this journey to show y'all why I say this. But I'm also going to show y'all what the Creator said. Because, you know, we only look to the books of the New Testament and say, oh, these were added. Clearly, you know, it's talking about this suspect dude here running around doing things contrary to what we're supposed to do, right? Healing sick ladies that should have been outside the camp. Bringing sick people in the temple when, you know, there weren't people in the temple. We used our brain on that, and that got us out from this, under these lies. We have to use our brain with this too, and recognize what was going on in the book of Esther and what was going on in the book of Ruth. Esther is a harem honeypot, okay? And I'm going to prove why I say that this week, right? So anybody venerating these queens and these kings, more power to you, all right? I recognize these books as added, and I'm going to show you what the Creator said about it. Let's keep going. So this week we're in Deuteronomy 4, 1 through 9. Now therefore, hearken, O Israel, unto the statutes and the judgments which I teach you, for to do them that ye may live, and go in, right? They're going to go in and they're going to possess the land. This is how you get to go in and possess the land, right? The way you do that, according to Moses right here, is that you hearken to the statutes, right here, statutes, and to the judgments, right? So we know that Moses didn't go in. So is Moses telling us why he didn't go in? He didn't hearken to the statutes and the judgments, because we didn't see him go in either. We also saw him die after this. All right, y'all, let's keep going. But this is how this sentence is started. Now therefore hearken, O Israel, unto the statutes and unto the judgments which I teach you, for to do them, that ye may live, and go in and possess the land which the Lord, the God of your fathers, giveth you. Ye shall not add unto this word which I command you, neither shall you diminish aught from it, that ye may keep the commandments of the Lord your God which I command ye. Your eyes have seen what the Lord did because of, there it goes, y'all, Baal Peor. For all the men that followed Baal Peor. Remember, it was an initiation, right, guys? That was the word used last week. I told y'all I thought that was a strange word. It was an initiation. The Lord thy God have destroyed them from among you. For ye that did cleave. Now remind you, they may have been destroyed, but that virus, I got to bring y'all back to the Y chromosome, right? Somehow I got to bring that back in here. That virus stayed on their genetic code. That's why you see all that junk DNA. Whatever that plague was, stayed on their genetic code. The Lord thy God have destroyed them from among you. But ye that did cleave unto the Lord your God are alive, every one of you this day. See, I'm going to be cleaving unto the Lord my God, so I can be alive this day. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither you go to possess it. So the same statutes and judgments that were taught to Moses, which he said, if you don't follow them, you don't go into the land, was taught to the Israelites. All right. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great, who have God so nigh to them, so close to them, as the Lord our God is in all things that we call upon him? For what nation is there so great, that have statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law, which I set before you this day? Only take heed to thyself, and keep thy soul diligently, lest you forget the things which thine eyes have seen, lest they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life. But teach them thy sons and thy sons' sons. Once again, guys, this is to the sons and thy sons' sons for several generations, right, guys? I'm trying to tell y'all this. What happened at Baal Peor? Yeah, it said don't forget. They went after women of other nations. They were struck with a disease. 24,000 of them were wiped out. It said don't forget, lest your sons and thy sons' sons commit these same deeds. The men went after women of other nations in Baal Peor. That's what happened. All right, guys, right here. It reminded them. And 24,000 of them were wiped out. All right, but it says here, do not add. So the Creator's telling us that they're going to add. But they're being warned not to. Everything that they do, they were warned not to do before they do it. Okay? Creator ain't punishing some people that didn't know better. They were warned extensively. They were shown. Even the righteous of righteous won't get up in this joint if y'all don't listen to me. Did Moses get in? No. And he's telling them, y'all better listen, because look, I can't get in. All right, guys, but did they listen? Did they listen? How do we know if they listened or not, right? The evidence of the Creator should be in our books, right? Is the evidence of the Creator in the book of Esther? Is the evidence of the Creator in the book of Ruth? Well, we haven't gotten to Ruth yet, but I'm building y'all up to this. So come on, let's keep moving. All right, guys, because now we find out that you're not supposed to add. So let's talk about this, right? We done dealt with the book of Esther, right? So I can talk about Esther freely now. So let's go. Why doesn't the book of Esther mention God? Did y'all know that the book of Esther does not mention God? What did I tell y'all? Let's read this article. The book of Esther is unique in several ways. One distinguishing characteristic is that it's the only biblical book that does not mention God. This fact has caused some to question its place in the biblical canon, but in reality, the absence of God names fits perfectly with the theme of the book. Here are some reasons why God's name may not have been referenced directly in Esther, because of the circumstances of its writing. Jewish tradition claims authorship by Mordecai. If Mordecai is the author, he wrote the book in Persia while serving under, who did I say? Xerxes. Instead of directly crediting the victory for God of the people, Mordecai may have written, we're right here, the book to better fit the polytheistic context of where they were at. Susa was in Persia, guys. Polytheistic means multiple God beliefs. Monotheistic would mean that you just believe in one God, all right? So he's teaching them that, this fits with the better polytheistic view, right? This would have kept him protected from harm by the king or other enemies while still communicating the account of God's work through Esther. Another emphasis is Esther is the theme of fasting. There are 6 separate feasts throughout the book, and these stand in stark contrast to Esther's choice to fast for 3 days before confronting the king with the matter of saving her people. She likewise asks other Jews to join her. Go gather together all of the people who are in Susa and fast for me, not the Creator. All right? Don't lose focus of that. Do not eat or drink for 3 days or nights. All right? And my attendants will fast as you do. It is understood that fasting is done before God and to request God's help. See, they went to looking for Esther's help, not God's help. You know how I know they're looking for Esther's help? Because Esther said to fast for me. Right here. So even though God's name is, we're right here. So even though God's name is not directly mentioned, Esther is involved in a religious observance meant to supplicate God's mercy. But the name of the Creator isn't mentioned. All right. Finally, the book of Esther may not mention God because the emphasis is on God's providence. Mordecai states, if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place. But you and your father's family will perish. And who knows, but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. Yeah, Mordecai knows that he plugged in there for this. You got to do what I told you to, or you wouldn't even have this position. All right. Mordecai alludes to divine sovereignty without calling it such. He alludes to it. No mention of the Creator. The principle is that God places people in particular places at particular times to accomplish His particular plans, right? The book of Esther may not directly mention God, but it clearly reveals God's work. His name is not written in the book. Let's go back to that. His name is not written in the book. But his fingerprints, as we may say, are all over it. The coincidences, the amazing reversals. What amazing reversals. That they got to go back home because Esther dropped it like it was hot, like I said. And the poetic justice that led to the deliverance of the Jews in Persia all proclaim the presence of God. Where? By giving your daughter to another nation. That's the presence of the Creator? What are we, idiots? The Creator told us in Deuteronomy 7. In Deuteronomy 4, the Creator says, I'm going to give y'all some laws. Don't mess this up. Deuteronomy 7, there is a law. Do not give your daughter or your son to these other nations. And what happens? Esther is given to another nation. Well, you know where else that happens, guys? This is a running theme, okay, in the 2 books that they gave us with the ladies. Let me tell you what else happens. Let's go to this article right here. Because we got to come up to this book next, too, because I got to prove to you guys that this ain't no book for us. That the powers that be stuck this book into our book. All right, guys? I got to prove this to y'all. Oh, this isn't the right article. Hold on, guys. I don't want to go with that one yet. Hold up. Oh, gosh. The phone is getting glitchy. Why isn't God mentioned more in the book of Ruth? The book of Ruth, so fair use for purposes of criticism and education. I keep forgetting that, guys. The book of Ruth mentions God several times, but it does not record God directly speaking or doing anything out of the ordinary. If we can call the birth of a baby ordinary, there are no miracles recorded in the book of Ruth, no dreams or visions, and no expositions, right, of divine lessons or relaying of commands. So in the book of Ruth, we don't have a dream, we don't have a vision, we don't have a lesson, we don't have a command. There's not even any prayers in the book. So maybe I should have done some of this before I presented my stance on Esther and Ruth to y'all guys, so I can lead y'all up before I attack this book to the fact that the Creator ain't mentioned in these books. There is not one command given out of this book that says, "Thus says the Lord," like our prophets do, like Isaiah, right? That IJE. Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, they say, "Thus say the Lord." You're not going to see that in Esther. Queen Esther, a honeypot harem. You're not going to see that. And it says right here in the book of Ruth, you're not going to see it. Come on, guys. When God is mentioned in the book of Ruth, it's always mentioned by the covenant name. The book of Ruth mentions the Lord as the one who blessed the people in Judah by giving them good crops again. Just Judah, huh? Judah's not the chosen tribe, so we should have had some suspicions about this book of Ruth, right? Ain't no tribe singled out, you know what I'm saying? It's the nation of Israel. All right. Various people in the book invoke God's name in oath. So they're calling on the Creator like, yeah, I got an oath with the Creator. But we're not seeing the Creator talk back to them. All right? Let's keep going. Naomi, Ruth's mother-in-law, blames God for bringing her to a state of misery. So not only does this book not mention the Creator. So before we get to this book, remember this lady is blaming the Creator for her misfortune when the Creator said, "Don't go live amongst the other nations." What did she do? Went amongst the other nations. What did her sons do? Marry Barbies. Ruth is a Moabitess right off the bat. She's married to Naomi's son. So Naomi's children are with other nations. What Naomi do? Take her back home. All right? She wanted to throw her up under her kinsman's nose so they could get a little love. All right? All right, let's keep going. So this lady's blaming the Creator. All right. At the end of the book, the author mentions that it is the Lord who enables Ruth and Boaz to have a son. And the women of Bethlehem utter a note of praise. Bless the Lord. With its relatively few references to God, the book of Ruth, this is a really good paragraph right here. With its relatively few references to God, the book of Ruth somewhat resembles the book of Esther. In Esther, God is never mentioned at all. I'll say it again. In Esther, God is never mentioned at all. But in both Esther and Ruth, God's hand can be seen, moving and working behind the scenes. For example, the famine in Israel is mentioned in Ruth 1. It was a divine judgment of idolatry in the land. So Ruth is mad because of this divine judgment. I mean, not Ruth. Naomi is mad because of this divine judgment. And she's blaming the Creator for this misery. Nah, the judgment struck you. You shouldn't have been in it. Also, like Esther, Ruth contains an amazing coincidence. Ain't no coincidences, guys. That's what I believe. You know what I believe about coincidences? That it ain't no coincidences. Okay? So it was not a coincidence that Esther was at the honeypot harem under Mordecai's rule as a Jew woman. Like I told you, it never made sense that people didn't know that she was, quote, Jewish. All right, whatever. You can miss me with that because Mordecai won't bow, so they know he's not. They know he's not of his people because he's saying, I can't bow because I'm this. So they know. All right, but this is a coincidence that points to God's covert design. And it's recorded here. So Ruth went out and entered the field and began to glean behind the harvesters. As it turns out, she was working in a field belonging to Boaz, who was from the clan of Elimelech. Out of all the fields in the region, Ruth happened to end up in Boaz's field. And Boaz just happened to be an eligible person who could redeem her. Okay, because there was some sort of law, I guess, that if this was the specific kinsman, that he actually could circumvent the law and actually marry a woman outside of the tribe. This is why Ruth is up under Boaz's nose, and that Naomi has done this. Naomi know that Boaz can redeem Ruth. So I guess she feel like, you know, Ruth is a hot looking woman. I'm going to just put him up under Boaz and he going to fall for the okie doke. And he does. He redeems this Moabite. Exactly what the Creator told us not to do. The text makes it sound as if Ruth's arrival in the field was a random event, a happy accident. But we know that Ruth's meeting Boaz was more than happenstance. The last word in the book of Ruth, David, reveals what God had been doing all along, bringing into the world a king who would be a man after his own heart. God's sovereignty led the widow Ruth to the field of the one man, both willing and able to redeem her according to the law. Although he's not mentioned often in Ruth, God orchestrated all the events recorded in the book. He provided an honorable kinsman redeemer for both Naomi and Ruth. So Naomi's getting redeemed out of this too now. Because remember, Naomi left her people. She went to another land. Her sons that married these Barbies from other nations. So she coming back looking tarnished. Okay, so she do need to be redeemed. All right. He arranged for this is the part right here that's really fun. He arranged for a Moabite widow to be welcomed in Judean society. This is Judah, guys. What did I tell y'all? All right. Judean. Judah. Under his direction, all the pieces fell into place for the birth of David, the future king. While the book of Ruth does not explicitly record God causing all these things to occur, the reaction of the women of Bethlehem make it clear. They knew it was the Lord's doing. Praise be to the Lord, they say, who this day has not left Naomi without a guardian redeemer. Naomi, huh? I told y'all last week they want to bring this book of Ruth in because they have to validate this birth to link this birth to JC. The only problem is in the book of Ruth, this lion book begins to tell you that both Leah and Rachel are the matriarchs of Israel. But that ain't what Jeremiah told you, was it? Those ladies need to be validated somewhere else. The book of Ruth don't even have God mentioned in it. So I'm supposed to believe the book of Ruth that Leah and Rachel are both the matriarchs? No. I think I'll believe my Torah. My Torah mentions Rachel weeping. My Torah validates Rachel In the book of Jeremiah, the only book to mention Leah is this heathen book of Ruth right here that does not mention God one time and actually looks a lot like the book of Esther. Right here. Resembles the book of Esther. Did I read this article before I came to this conclusion? No, I sure didn't. I just knew because my mother let me know. This book is trash. We ain't supposed to marry no people from other nations. I can read, y'all. I know what the Creator told me in Deuteronomy 7. Don't give your sons or your daughters to other nations. And in Baal Peor, they went after other nations. The men made booths outside of the camp, brothels, specifically to be with these women. And when I show y'all what Baal Peor mentions, we're going to have a grown-up conversation next week, guys. We got to. Before we get to it, do yourself a favor. Research Baal Peor. Research what it means. Because Israel, hearken. We got to have a grown-up conversation next week. We most definitely do. About what you guys were initiated into at Baal Peor. Then we got to talk about this book of Ruth telling us that Leah is a matriarch for Israel. Leah ain't mentioned nowhere else. Just Genesis and Ruth. Rachel, Genesis. Jeremiah, even in the hijack books of Matthew and Revelation, they want to validate. Okay, guys? And we can't. I'm going to validate what the Torah is validating. My Torah tells me Rachel is connected to Israel. She is weeping. And I'm starting to see why. I only see it because wisdom is guiding me. Let wisdom guide you too, guys. Much love from the front line. I'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Take care.